Hiya folks, Bob Akmens back here. This is the third part of our three-part introductory video, which we entitle Who We Are and How We'll Make You Money. Please watch the first two parts. In the first part we talk about the important factors you should look at in choosing a sports service and in following their betting plays. After all, you're risking your hard-earned money doing so. In the second part, we talk a little bit about our accomplishments in the 30 years we've been in this business. And we start talking about something that I get asked about very often. Do you have locks? Well, you know, I guess sometimes I get some bagels and lox with cream cheese. It's a little inside joke, having grown up in the Bronx, folks. But we'll talk about betting locks in a moment. We left off part 2 of the video talking about my acquaintance with the associates in the Bronx, when I started doing this in 1978, of Henry Hill. And if you don't know who Henry Hill is, but the name sounds familiar, think back to a movie that you might have watched and enjoyed called Goodfellas, where Robert De Niro is in it, Joe Pesci is in it, shooting people for just pissing them off, no other reason. And Henry Hill is the character played by Ray Liotta. That's Henry Hill. Now, I didn't know Henry Hill myself. I think Henry is still alive. So, Henry, if you're out there, I didn't know you myself, but I certainly knew guys who were in your crew and guys who dealt with you on a daily basis. And what happened in December of 1978 of that year, I heard some rumors from some very good sources about some monkey business that was going to happen in a Boston College hoop game. Of course, there was no way to accurately confirm this stuff at the time, but I was told that the upcoming BC Providence game was a lock, because Henry Hill had, shall we say, a working relationship with some BC players who might just miss a few easy hoops in that game. So the day of the game arrives, and BC is a 7-point favorite. I didn't tell a soul I had this info. Stupid I'm not, as Yoda might say. But I had a bunch of guys working the phones for me, giving out plays that night. And as you might guess, I had released Providence plus the 7 points as a huge play. And it's now very well known that some of the BC players did, in fact, shave points for several games, as I recall. I even remember that one of the kids' names was Sweeney. So here we had the quintessence of a true lock. I mean, how much more of a lock can you possibly have than a fixed game where the favorite won't cover because players will deliberately miss shots? I mean, it's nirvana, huh? So what happened in that lock game? It still pains me to think, even after all these years. Boston College won the game by 13 points, and Henry Hill and his bunch were not happy campers, and neither was I, and neither were my clients. And that taught me once and for all time that there are absolutely, positively no locks in life. In betting life, I should say. In life, we have some locks, unfortunately. We're all going to kick the bucket, folks. But there are no locks in your betting life. What happened in the game? Players got cold feet. That's what happened in the game, huh? Where they threw up bricks which happened to go in. Now, let's go back to my client's first day of service in 1979. In the second part of this video, I talked about one of the clients who is still with me to this day, 29 years later. And I recall when he called me up during the World Series between the Pirates and the Orioles had a 3-game-to-1 lead, and he had lost his shirt, and he was trying to win it back, and he needed a lock winner. That's why I started talking about locks. So let's talk about that first day of service. Now, I disappointed him by telling him I had no lock in Game 5 of the series, but I did surprise him a bit by telling him I liked the dog in that game. A surprise because the Pirates were starting Jim Rooker, who had won all of 4 games during the regular season. And in those much more formful days of baseball, I figured the Pirates would salvage at least one game at home in spite of Rooker. But you know, Rooker pitched brilliantly. Blyleven came on for a few innings of relief, and the Buccos were at least still alive. Now, the new client calls me for the very next game. He's super happy, and he says to me, all excited like a dog panting, he says, "We're going with Palmer tonight, right?" He figured Palmer back in Baltimore had to be a lock. Well, I like the Candyman, John Candelaria, and the Bucks' momentum, and Pop Stargell and the amazing series he was having. So I gave out the Pirates as a dog again, and they won Game 6 to knot the series at 3 games apiece. Now the final deciding game is upon us, and my new friend calls again and says, almost exasperated, I remember, he says, "You've got to be going with Scotty McGregor at home in the clincher, right?" McGregor was their number 2 pitcher that year, the Orioles. And I said, and I threw him for a loop when I did this, "Nope, we're going with the Pirates with Jim Bibby." But Bibby actually had a more productive year than McGregor did, as I explained to him. And again, never underestimate Mo. And Mo, momentum, was something the Pirates definitely had Mo of. To the tune of Sly and the Family Stones, "We Are Family," the small but very vocal Pittsburgh contingent at Baltimore's now gone Memorial Stadium rocked and rolled to the '79 World Championship. And you know, much as one caller asked not too long ago, did you guys grow up together, when he happened to hear me talking to this long-term client, and I had them both on speakerphones, and it just dazzled him to hear that this client had been with me since '79. I do seem to have grown up together with that client, since he's been with me all 29 years since then. And I know he bets enough to have won millions on my plays over the years. I remember him telling me many years ago that he had bought a beach house with cash from his profits. And you know, I hope I can win a fraction of that for you. And with that nice thought, I do hope you'll come on board for the ride as we win yet more handicapping contests in all sports, and give me the distinct pleasure of telling some new clients about you a decade or so down the road. I'd like to thank you again for visiting basports.com. I want you to look around, look at the different sports, look at the home pages, look at some of the content that we have. I'm sure you'll find something that will interest you and educate you, as I've been educated by all my experiences in the decades I've done this. And I hope you'll come back again real soon. And until then, I want to thank you so much for visiting. And for now,